Hello everybody, dear friends, clients, astrology lovers. Here is Olga and I'm very happy to see you again, even though this video is not a live stream video, it's not a direct broadcast, it's a recorded video, but you can always ask your questions in the comments or send me a private message. I have a new video for you today, a video that does not correspond exactly to the to the format that I'm used to. Of course, I will talk about the major transits of the first week after the solar eclipse, but I would like to get back to the subject of the eclipses. I spoke in details on the season of the eclipses of August 2017 in another video. But today I would like to get back to the solar eclipse because we are on the eve of this major astrological event, and I would like to present you my personal vision of certain things, of certain parameters of this phenomena. Okay. What does it mean that we have the solar eclipse in the sign of Leo? What makes the difference between the solar eclipse in Leo with the solar eclipse in another sign? If you were to speak of the signs of the zodiac as of symbolic steps in the development of the process of life, as of levels and stages in the mastery of reality, and not of astropsychological characteristics of people born under this or that zodiacal sign, then the transition from the stage of the sign of Cancer to the stage of the sign of Leo would be the transition from the life as the process of survival and satisfaction of our minimal needs to the life as the process of creativity, process of creation, towards the life full of drive, risk, and enjoyment. These are the key words of the description of the signs of Cancer and Leo. We are all familiar with these basic characteristics of the signs, right? Of all the signs of the zodiac. I'm just reminding you that the sign of Cancer, which precedes the sign of Leo, symbolizes our need to find our small place in the big world, to find the conditions in which we feel protected, safe, having a minimum to satisfy our biological needs. And at this point, what is important to us is to know ourselves as well as our deep inner motivations. All right? On the next step, which corresponds to the sign of Leo, what comes to the fore is the need to have resources above the minimum required, the desire to do what pleases us, to reveal our potential and to create. We no longer seek safety and protection, but we seek recognition, appreciation, and confirmation of our importance by others. And in order to arrive at all this, we aspire to the demonstration of ourselves to our entourage, people that surround us, and to the entire world, of course. As at this phase, what is essential for us is to be able to manifest our individuality, our capacities, our talents, and our potential, and to manifest all these things and to project all this into the outside world. Thus, the solar eclipse in Leo highlights in the foreground among all the realities of our lives, the themes that surpass our need for survival and security, which corresponds to the sign of Cancer, right? Yes, there is this very important thing that I want to attract your attention to, is that we all talk about for the past months, even 2 months, so many astrologers in different languages and talk about these eclipses and the importance and what we should do, what we should not do, how we have to handle this time, you know, how we have to, what strategy of behavior we have to choose. But this is extremely important to know that the solar eclipse offers us opportunities, and it depends on us if we want to use them or not. Nothing is imposed, nothing, we don't oblige, we have free will to accept the opportunities, to use them, and to transform our lives, or to let the eclipse pass unnoticed. Okay, what are the maximum constructive opportunities that are offered by the solar eclipse in Leo? The transition towards the life which is more complete and more fulfilled, the improvement of the quality of life, its enrichment with the things that inspire us and which would be for us the source of positive emotions. New trends and everything about that concerns exchange of energies, love, recognition, and all this can be manifested in our outside activities and as well as in personal relationships, in relationship with lovers, beloved one, and children. The second major opportunity, the theme of the solar eclipse in Leo, is the increasing income levels, revealing additional sources of income. But the fact that we know that the eclipse takes place, that it occurs, that it's formed, doesn't mean that these opportunities, even if we are aware of what opportunities the eclipse is offering to us, doesn't mean that we can take advantage of these opportunities. We have to do something. We have to act. We could take advantage of these maximum and constructive opportunities if, under the condition, if we meet the following requirements. Nothing will happen just on itself without our conscious, active participation. It's not about doing something, it's about the way of thinking. It's about the change of our way of thinking. What are these two major requirements? If we have solved in our lives the problems of the previous phase of mastering of reality, it corresponds to the sign of Cancer. Remember the search for security, minimal needs, right? If we are too concerned by the problems of our own survival, by the warranties of security, we will not be able, it won't be possible to talk about the expansion or expression of our individuality. We have to dare to get out from our small comfort zone and to dare to show ourselves to the world. This is the first requirement. And the second requirement is to maintain the balance between the polar qualities of the axis Leo Aquarius. And I enumerated these polar qualities of the axis in the previous video. You can watch it if you haven't done it yet, where I talk in details about the polar characteristics of the axis. What would be the result of the balance between the polar qualities of the axis Leo Aquarius? When we are ready to realize our potential, when we are ready to love, to cooperate, to evolve constantly, while remaining free of constraints, limitations, free of attachments or even addictions, and respecting at the same time the rights to the freedom of choice of other people. This is the balance between the balance of the axis Leo Aquarius. If we don't care, for example, sometimes we don't want create new reality for our future. If we don't work out the energies of the solar eclipse, the solar eclipse can pass almost unnoticed for some of us. But there are more often less favorable cases when we don't meet these two conditions, when we oppose ourselves to them consciously. We act in the contrary, in the opposite way. Yes. For example, if the person has not worked out on the themes of previous level of reality, the theme of Cancer, and if she did not work out the balance of the axis Leo Aquarius, a solar eclipse can bring very complex transformations into her life in the spheres of life listed above, and these complex transformations can happen in an extremely difficult context, full of traumatism, stress, because the person resists to the change, but she is forced to accept the changes. Or how would we describe the behavior of the person who is not respecting the balance of the axis Leo Aquarius? This person would be fixed, for example, on herself and on the feeling of her own importance. She would require attention and recognition by all means. She would react painfully to any criticism, and she would demonstrate an inappropriate hyperactivity. Notice that these are negative characteristics of Leo, because each sign, there is no bad or good sign. Each sign has positive, harmonious, and negative characteristics, right? So these negative characteristics of Leo may get activated at the time of the eclipse, and that's why if the person insists on this strategy of behavior, all her attempts to assert herself, to fill her life with the vivid colors and events, according to the sign of Leo, the theme of sign of Leo, will ultimately fail. The person may live misfortune and losses, and this will be a painful shock for her self-esteem, bankruptcy in risky adventures, problems with loved ones and with children, a decline in general of quality of life. But once again, this will be her responsibility. All these misfortunes and losses and failures will be the consequence of a serious imbalance in the life strategy of this person. There is no neutral result, whether positive, constructive, whether negative or destructive result of our behavior, especially during the solar eclipse. It may pass unseen, but most often it's whether constructive, whether destructive. What is very important to trace what aspects the point of the eclipse form with other planets. I mentioned this also in the previous video. The solar eclipse formed the conjunction with Mars, because you remember that the conjunction Sun-Mars is still in its orb, and this will mark the beginning of a new solar cycle, of a new cycle of Mars, and this will mark the beginning of a new cycle for us, for our activity. The point of the eclipse also forms aspects with Saturn and Jupiter, and consequently its influence is mainly and more widely manifested in everything that concerns our external activities, our professional, social, and business projects. There's another very philosophical approach that I would like you to think about. We all of us, we are aware of the apparent impact of the solar eclipse, as an astronomical phenomena. We can observe even the eclipse depending on where we are at the moment of the eclipse, in which continent, in which country, in which part of the country. It can be visible, from certain places on the earth, on the globe. This is astronomical. We talk about astronomical phenomena. But what about the non-apparent or hidden or implicit influence of the solar eclipse? It consists in the following logic. This is like my vision of the situation. The moment of the eclipse gives birth or forms the content of inner layers, the content that will determine our physical future reality later. We simply cannot conceive and observe it because our mind is used to consider what is more or less important according to the way it manifests itself in the external physical world, in the specific events and results. But the most important things at the beginning of all cycles, including during the solar eclipses, are defined precisely on the hidden and internal layer. The invisible determines the visible, right? This I heard from many people, that at the moment of the eclipse we may think that nothing significant is happening. It's like, it looks like an ordinary day, not really different from other days. But we will see for sure the real consequences of our decisions only years later, the consequences of the decisions and choices that at the time of the eclipse were seemed random and unimportant. And therefore, one of the most important values of astrology, and that's why I am passionate about astrology, is that this esoteric occult science helps to trace the link between the causes and effects. It helps recognize the time to cast away stones and the time to gather stones together. So, yeah, a little bit of philosophy today. The week before, remember that the 2 weeks before, between both eclipses, the lunar and the solar, are extremely important. This time is called the corridor of eclipses. But the week before the solar eclipse and a few days after the solar eclipse bring decisive turns in career, significant encounters and separations, important news, and close to the date of the eclipse, the concentration of important vital choices, fatal events increases, and the consequences of the changes that take place at this moment and the decisions made at that time will remain with us for many years in the future. The most dangerous, dark, let's say tense and dark days are the last days before the eclipse, the days of the dark moon or Hecate, because the solar eclipse is the conjunction moon-sun, so it's the new moon, and in the end of any lunar month, we feel very weak and depressed and sad, So from this time, between August 19th to the 21st, these are the last days of the lunar month and the last day before the eclipse, when our ability to see the consequences of the decisions and to adequately assess external circumstances, this ability is reduced, weakened. So therefore, it's desirable to avoid taking any risk, to avoid taking any important decisions, responsible actions. We have to avoid conflicts and potentially dangerous situations. This is the moment of separation, completion, finalization, calculation of results. Now it's better not to start a new project. It's better to we should not think about moving, for example. Major changes. We have to wait with that, or start a new business. Like it's just excluded. These days, better to do a maximum verification, to summarize, to think, to analyze, and to summarize how the themes and the situations that symbolically correspond to the sign of Leo that I talked before have evolved in our lives so far. We have to reflect if everything suits us, everything in our behavior suits us, and if everything in our life suits us, if we are happy with, satisfied with everything, and what we would like and what we could change and how. On the day of the solar eclipse and during the next 2 days, we will see the emergence of the internal level on the internal level of new programs and scenarios in all the spheres of our life listed before. And these programs will determine the events of the next 6 months of our lives until the next eclipses, right? As well as for the events of the next 18 years and a half. Why? I already mentioned this in the previous video. The eclipses in the same signs of the zodiac on the same axis will occur in 18 years and a half, when the lunar nodes would have made the full tour of the zodiacal circle, and they will have returned on the same axis, Leo Aquarius. So during these 3 days, the day of the solar eclipse and the first 2 days after, it's necessary to monitor carefully what and who is in the spot of our attention, to observe the hygiene of thoughts, to filter the information that we transmit and we receive, to visualize new projects and everything related to self-realization, improving quality of life, and we also have to think about how to fulfill our life with deep meaning. Visualization in French. It's easier for me. Another interesting detail, there is another period that will be very important with regard to the activation of the energy of the solar eclipse, the date between August 30th and the 3rd of September, because at this moment Mars and Mercury, which will be retrograde, still retrograde in the end of its retrograde phase, will cross the point of the solar eclipse, the 28th degree of Leo. So at this moment we also could expect significant and decisive changes in our external activities, in our leisure, relationships with loved ones, relatives, and children. Yes, this is this major astrological event that I spoke about, the retrograde phase of Mercury, and this that coincides with the season of eclipses of August 2017. You know, this first week after the eclipse, the week of August from the 21st until 27th, this will be the second of the 3 weeks of the retrograde phase of Mercury in Virgo, which began on August 12th. And during this period, we encounter not only typical disadvantages of the retrograde phase of Mercury that appear in the form of problems with transport during trips, travels, problems with equipment, in communication, losses and dismissals, for example. There's also a positive side, of course, the possibility, the positive side of the retrograde phase of Mercury, the possibility of immersion into a job that we have not been able to finish so far for a long time. Also restoring ties with old friends when we see people from the past that come back to our lives. It could be the moment of reconciliation. Yes, Mercury retrograde in Virgo could bring us messages about how to organize in the best way our life and also our diet, nutrition, what kind of work we really want to do, what equipment we lack at home or at the office, what equipment do we need for the efficient work, who helps us and who creates obstacles in our advancement in our affairs. But very important moment, yes, due to this double overlapping of the eclipses, of the season of eclipse and of the retrograde phase of Mercury, we can, during this week, the week can result in severe nervous tension, illnesses due to these nervous tensions, actually, severe equipment failures, especially this concerns those who are born under the sign of Virgo. Okay, we are more vulnerable. Just the one day before the eclipse on August 20th, there is the very harmonious aspect Mars in sextile with Jupiter. The action of the aspect lasts from August 10th until August 30th, like more than the half of the month. This is a very constructive aspect, which in the ambiguous conditions of August will allow to solve complex problems. Those who are able to act quickly, to think and to act quickly, can achieve very good results. But let me remind you that we talk about projects that we have already started. We talk about the finalizations of projects and ideas, about the preparation of the final phase of a project. We talk about the resolution of current problems and not about starting new ones because Mercury is retrograde. I remind you one more time, and I think it will be the last time, that the total solar eclipse will occur on Monday on August 21st at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Montreal or New York, in the 28.53 degrees of Leo. And of course it will affect more intensely the personal affairs of those who have in their chart the planets or the angles or the both in the following degrees from between 26 and 30 degree of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus and Scorpio. You remember I mentioned in the previous video that in my personal situation the lunar eclipse was projected to the axis of my first to seventh house, and of course the solar eclipse touches my seventh house and it touches my Saturn. My Saturn is the element of the seventh house, and by the way it's in sextile of Jupiter in the fifth house, so late marriage but based on love with a person older than me, and this is actually what is happening because my Saturn is in the 28th degree of Leo. Do you imagine that? So that the solar eclipse touches exactly my Saturn, which is the element of the seventh house. So what is important for you to observe is not only what symbolic house is activated in your chart. I mean, if you're Aquarius, your symbolic seventh house is in Leo. But if you have the rising sign Scorpio, Leo won't be your seventh house. You have to of course, the most important is to see your real house of your chart. So since my rising sign is Aquarius, my descendant is in Leo, and the solar eclipse is projected to my seventh house. In addition to that, it touches my Saturn, and things like this happens only once in a lifetime. Yes, I think that I've been waiting for these events for all my conscious life, because I will turn 40 in January. After so many years of immigrations and isolations and adaptations to a new environment, to new climate, to new country, finally I sat down on my chair. Saturn, the element of the seventh house. That's why I love astrology, because we can explain a lot of things with astrology, a lot. Okay, let's get far from my personal example, personal situation. But I wanted to share with you this element because the solar eclipse touches my planet. So this is something that doesn't happen in the chart of each person. You will certainly have one of your houses, of course, activated by the eclipse, but which will be even more remarkable and interesting to observe is the conjunction of the eclipse with the planet, or with the angle. Ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC. Okay, what else? So the day of the eclipse, the sun, or actually the conjunction, the point of the eclipse, conjunction sun-moon, forms the trine with Uranus, right? And this aspect adds a constructive characteristics to the eclipse. If the lunar eclipse of the 7th of August created problems, the solar eclipse of the 21st of August gives the opportunity to solve them. Actually, the trine Sun Uranus allows to solve old problems in a new way. It helps to find a way out of difficulties using an unconventional approach. The theme of Uranus: unconventional attitude, unconventional approach. August 22nd, the ingression of the sun into the sign of Virgo. So we started the new lunar month, the new week after the eclipse, with the gorgeous aspects Gorgeous transit, Sun and trine to Uranus. And also we'll have now this 22nd of August, Mars in trine with Saturn. So on the 22nd, actually, we have the ingression of the Sun into the sign of Virgo, which will define for the next month the time favorable, yes, for studies, work, and planning. Happy birthday, dear Virgos. The same day Mars is in trine with Saturn, and this is an excellent aspect for the implementation of our project, especially for Aries, Scorpios, Leos, Capricorns, and Sagittarius, and in general for highly motivated and determined people. If you combine these two transits, the ingression of the Sun in Virgo and the trine Mars-Saturn, the same day, in the very beginning of a new lunar cycle, just this day after the solar eclipse, these two transits define the moment, very favorable moment for concentrated work and discipline, when the combination of will and endurance and perseverance contribute to productivity and advancement in our affairs. The result may not be immediate because the Saturn, we remember Saturn symbolizes the time. This is the god of time in the ancient Greece, Chronos, but the result will justify our effort that we will make now during this transit. On August 24th, I think it's jeudi in French, Thursday. Yes, Venus is in a square with Uranus, and it is in its orb between. The aspect is in its orb between 20th and 27th of August. The aspect stimulates emotional irritability, and it's important for us not to fall into the emotional funnel, especially if you talk about very sensitive people, because this emotional irritability will be caused by, for example, the reception of unexpected information, unexpected news of a personal or professional nature. Unexpected events in our personal life, in work or in business, can also happen. The period of the square Venus-Uranus can be difficult for marriage and romantic relationships, as well as for partnership of all types. We are aware of that. And there can be misunderstandings and conflicts, forced separation. That's why we have to take care of the relationship that we care about. On the 25th of September, Saturn gets direct. It ends its retrograde phase, okay, in the 22nd degree of Sagittarius. This is the last turn of the planet in Sagittarius, where it has been since September 2015. That's why this week, the second week, the first week of the new lunar month, a situation that has lasted since the end of 2015 can be resolved. For example, it could be a lawsuit, a problem related to work, to the property, to an elderly person, and a health issue, because actually the Saturn will be static. This intermediate phase between the retrograde phase and direct phase, between the August 23rd and 28th, this is the time of the Saturn, of the static Saturn. This week is important for the purchase and sale of real estate, for the research for the search for stable income, and also for the resolving a health issue such as problem with the teeth, spine, knees, and liver. During the static Saturn, we can resolve an old issue that has been blocked since the end of 2015, when Saturn started its retrograde phase. Okay. Yes, I remind you that until the 26th of August, Venus is still in Cancer, and this transit adds sentimentality and sensitivity to the emotional context. In our relationship, there's a growing need for peace of mind, love, and understanding, but Venus passes into Leo on the 26th of August, where it will remain until the 20th of September. The vulnerability and the subtle romanticism of Venus in Cancer gives way to the desire for affirmation in love to the need of the external signs of attention. You know, the need to feel our uniqueness and to receive confirmation of this uniqueness will increase during the transit of Venus by Leo. This transit is suitable for work on our image and for more lively expression of our tastes, for example, in our clothes. And it's also a good time for people of the world of art, for theatrical and scenic professions and activities, for showing our artistic talents. However, we should remember that when the planet enters a fire sign, the probability of accidents, fires, injuries is very high, especially, accidents with fire, because we talk about the fire sign. Two more things, and I'm done. On August 26th, the Sun is in conjunction with the Mercury retrograde. And this transit will allow us to analyze in depth, to allow us to clearly formulate and to logically justify to ourselves, first of all, and also to others, if we want to share this with others, our position in life, our principles, our philosophy of life. Conjunction Sun, Mercury. And the last thing, that on August 27, Jupiter is in sextile with Saturn, a very harmonious aspect between the slow planets, and the aspect will be in force during almost 1 month, because this is the aspect, a background aspect, and this harmonious, favorable aspect can contribute to stabilization in life for many of us, and to strengthening of our positions, as well as to success, especially in the social field. This is it, my dear friends and followers and astrology lovers. I hope that I gave you interesting, some useful information that you can use it in the appropriate way. I would like to wish you happy new moon, happy solar eclipse. Use these energies constructively, in the constructive way. Change your life and stay wise. Listen to the advices of astrologers. Stay tuned. Gorgeous, awesome week to all of us. Greetings from sunny Costa Rica. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Goodbye.